yeah. That's another.
Let's get to it, but let's talk about In Control a little bit. Let's talk about In Control a little bit.
Well, but yeah.
So the record comes out. You got a van, and now you're breaking out of town a little more. So you're going up to the Bay. Do you ever leave California?
Yep.
Do you go play Arizona? You play?
We were supposed to play Arizona with Aggression, and that tour fell through. We did make it to Denver, and Wyoming.
Okay.
We played in, I don't know, something like South Bend, Wyoming or something.
Okay.
And that it was like literally almost like driving to Denver, playing a couple of shows, playing Wyoming, and coming home. I think that was, and so that would have been, that was Larry White. That was the band. That was Larry White, Dixie, et al., and John.
So that was 84, 85?
Yeah, 84, 85, yeah.
Cool.
So, we were playing, like probably after that, because like I said, the In Control comes out early 84. We were playing all up and down and that's, we were playing all up and down the West Coast, and actually I lie. I think we did play San Diego. We did. We played San Diego once. We played with 45 Grave.
Cool.
Yeah. We played with 45 Grave and a couple of other bands. Yeah. And that was in 84. So 84 was just this kind of blur of shows, 84, 85. So we were playing, when we started playing big shows, like Gary Tovar from Golden Voice just loved us. So we were playing, Perkins Palace. We played this fucking awesome show with the Big Boys. What was that band you kind of wore clown makeup from the UK?
The Addicts.
The Addicts, the Addicts. And I think Suicidal Tendencies headlined.
Holy cow!
And we weren't opening. There was somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody opened opened the show. Then we played, and then the Big Boys and the Addicts and then Suicidal, and that was at Perkins Palace in Pasadena. It was something like a 4,000 or 5,000 seat, capacity theater, and it was packed, man.
Holy fuck.
And it just fucking went off, man. This was when I was like, we've arrived.
Yeah.
Like, this is the shit, man. And we're on this stage, and you could hardly see the crowd for the lights, and and it was just chaos. Like, I mean, beautiful chaos. Like, just people, man, stage diving, moshing, singing along. The whole place just kind of erupted, man. That was like, that's another highlight show, man. That show was just, I'm going, man, we got this album out, man. We've got merchandise. We had this review in Maximum Rock and Roll that was like, you couldn't pay money for it. These guys are one to watch, up and comers, man. They're, this is, a really nuanced, finessed album. Although they did say my singing was, which is probably something I actually got leveled at. People tended to criticize my singing as not being as strong as it could be, or as strong as other bands, So
it's what makes it stand out, though, right?
It's
what makes it stand out, though. You're not
thank you.
You're not yelling. You're not doing a snotty voice. You're not doing, a growly voice. It's just it's a clean shout.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, effectively, what it was. I mean, I was like my idols at that time, who I just absolutely, kind of emulated, would be, Ian MacKaye and Henry Rollins. They were who I tried to sing like, So it was, that passion and energy and that shout, but to where I want to be heard. I want you to hear what I'm saying. I want it to be,
you're understandable.
And I would, I was, I would try to sing, because I had vocal lessons, and, I've got pretty good timing. So it was something I did try and sing as well as keep it high energy. So, but it was, that was funny. That was something that, but anyways, that's cool. I forgive them, but it was, it was a really good review, and we got a lot of good reviews, and we were getting a lot of, media attention from, fanzines, and, it was kind of cool. It was probably like, during that time, it was probably like I was getting 3 or 4 or 5 interview, like kind of postal interview requests a week, for just obscure, little fanzines in Kentucky or Brazil or Germany. And,
Sure.
and I would do them all. And that was one thing we prided ourselves on, man. You wrote to us, you got a letter back. Even if you just said, hey, I love you guys, we wrote back. You didn't have to buy anything, And again, that was probably me emulating, Discord, Ian and Discord. Every time I ordered a record from Discord, I got a personal note from, or same with SSD. I got a personal note from Nancy Petrillo or from Al or, or Ian and Skip or whoever, and then eventually I got to meet these people because they would come on tour and, we had the Necros stay at my parents' house. We had Suicidal stay at my parents' house. I think Robo stayed at my parents' house. These bands would tour and, you kind of got to meet these, these people. And yeah, that was really cool. So we always wrote back. And yeah. And, if they ordered a t-shirt, you got a personal note,
Yeah, that's so cool. So everything's raging, 84, 85.
Yeah.
And then
we're playing like a machine, man. We're rehearsing. I was like a work, I drove these guys. It was like I wanted to practice every day,
mm-hmm.
and often we did. And so we're playing. We've got it down like we're a well-oiled machine, man. We knew exactly what we were doing when we hit the stage.
Right. When do you start? When do you start experimenting though with changing the sound? And it's just so fascinating to me because, Oxnard Nardcore 83, 84 is like so creative with everyone coming out with the records, right? So don't be mistaken as 83. In 84, you have What Happens Next come out. You have In Control come out. You have Plug In Jesus come out. 85, you have Burn come out. But that's like the end of it. And then kind of everything just tapers. No one ever really does anything again.
It was weird. It was like it just kind of.
But if you're firing so hard in 85, like why not get fired up and like go do a record in 86 or like in late 85? Like you're just playing on the same stuff, and then do you get bored of it, or does just the scene change?
No, well, the scene was changing. I guess this friendly camaraderie was turning into competition. Mm-hmm. I don't know if others have talked about it, but, it was, look, we were all pretty tight. Like, I went to high school with Tony Cortez and Jimmy Callahan and John Fanoff. And, I knew all of these guys like super well, but there was, starting to get a little bit of competition. Oh, we're better than you, or we're playing more shows, or we're doing this. And, I don't know, people probably won't admit it, but, it was definitely there. And, and I'm guilty of it. I'm not sitting here saying it was other people. It was definitely me too. I could be a real, asshole, I guess,
Sure. Well, it's people in their early 20s. You're not rational yet.
Yeah. So we were kind of, there was a bit of that, a bit of sniping, and, Dr. No think they're king shit and whatever. And, and we were like, it was kind of, I won't say unhealthy, but it probably wasn't super productive, And, so there was a bit of sniping. I mean, we can all mythologize, the wonderful Nardcore scene, but, we're humans. And as you say, we were young humans who were a bit, arrogant and impetuous and all of that, So there was a bit of that going on. And then also, like, what my personal story, what happened with Stalag 13 is come 85, the record's doing fucking well, like really phenomenal, man. Like George is getting it, overseas. It's selling really well. I think it went into, I don't know how many pressings he did, I think 2 or 3. We're getting a lot of press. We're playing a heap of shows. We're playing with the Necros. We're playing with the Misfits. We're playing with Black Flag. We're playing with Bad Brains. We're playing with Suicidal. We're playing with the big boys. We're playing with Whisker Dude, man. We played with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, man. We opened for the Red Hot Chili Peppers at La Casa de la Raza, man. Everything's kind of coming together. We played with the Circle Jerks all the time. They were, we played this Hitler's birthday show. That was funnily, ironically, the promoter was a Jewish guy, but yeah, it was weird, but it was kind of the circle jerks, and he wanted us on the the bill because, the German name,
Sure.
and, and that was awesome. We're getting so much fan mail, so much press, it's getting to the point where I'm walking around shows and I can't even walk around shows. I'm like a celebrity. And, it's funny. Like, I go, I'm this nobody from Oxnard and people want to talk to me.
Sure.
That was weird, because, going through high school, man, all the jock bullshit and all that, and being a punk, you were just fighting all the time. So anyway, so things are really kind of going well for us. We're on a wave, man. We're on a roll. So 85, what happens is, George Newberry, he's booking a tour. He's going, the record's going really well. You're doing an international tour. We're going to Canada. We're going to, it's, I think what he booked was 65 shows.
Holy fuck.
In 3 months. Okay. Like it was going to be kind of, I think June, July, August. It was just going to be the summer of love, man. The summer of Stalag 15. We were starting in Oxnard, I think playing Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, in the Bay Area. I think we played Ruthie's in Berkeley, Sacramento, played some place in Medford, Oregon, played in Portland, played in Seattle and we did a number of these shows with the Minutemen, which was just fucking awesome. And so we played in Seattle. We played with the Melvins, who were fucking awesome, and they loved us, man. So we played with the Melvins, the Minutemen, and some other bands from up there. And so that was the tour, and then we were meant to go into Vancouver, and then in through Canada, kind of dipping in and out of the U.S. So into South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, into Winnipeg, and just kind of crisscrossing, and then down into Chicago, Indiana, Michigan, Detroit, and then Philly, Boston, New York, down, to DC, down into Florida, and then, back up and through the South. And, this was going to be our, we were just going to, this was going to be it,
Yeah.
And this is something I dreamed about from the time I was a little kid, man. Like, this is a true story. I used to sing, I loved singing, man. I would run around the house and, being the youngest of five, I had older sisters who were into Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Elton John. And so I'd sing all these songs. And, I remember singing Led Zeppelin's Man, Whole Lot of Love, man. I love that song. And I remember singing that and go, man, I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to do this shit, And so this is my dream coming true, right?
Sure.
And so this tour is booked, man. We're set. We're happening. And, some of that kind of sniping and ego and shit that I was talking about a moment ago, I think that was kind of internal in the band, Dave Casillas was just strung out on heroin. Here we are, this, the great straight edge band. And, one of our, I come to find out later that, two of them are alcoholics and one's a, drug addict, And so, Dave was, he ended up, I think we were playing a show once and he was just so off his face. His guitar strings were broke. He was out of tune. And I just walked up to his amp and turned him off and we played this. He just continued playing and jumping around, but, there was no sound coming out. And, he'll say he quit and, I kicked him out, whatever, but he left the band. And so we were, on the eve of this tour. So we're probably about 3 months out of this tour. We're down to a 4-piece. So it's Blake, Larry, John, and myself. And then so now remember Chuck Stanks. So Chuck Collison, who was the original bass player for Stalag 13, he's really a guitar player. That's why he didn't like playing bass anyways in Stalag. So he's an awesome guitar player, phenomenal guitar player. He has this band now called Until We Die. And they are just like, they're kind of a hardcore metal crossover thing. And he's such an awesome guitarist. Anyways, long story short, I want to bring Chuck in on lead guitar. And, I pitch it to the guys and they're like, yeah, okay, cool. Right. So we go, we're going to have a jam. And at this stage, we've been practicing at John Morris's house we had a whole dedicated room there. We set up, we jam. It is awesome, man. Chuck's got a, Marshall stack, he's got a Gibson SG and a Gibson Les Paul. And these songs are just like, Black and Gray, man. My God, man. That was incredible with Chuck. It was so loud in this room, man. Just the grinding guitar. And I was like, man, this is the shit. And I'm kind of like, okay, we're ready to do this, And then, Chuck packs up and goes. And, I don't know if it was then or maybe a week later, but, Blake starts going, we don't need Chuck, man. We don't need another guitarist, dude. And I'm like, come on, man. We've recorded this album with 2 guitars. You jump around like a maniac on stage, which is awesome. And so, you're not going to be able to pull all those leads off. And, I really want Chuck in the band, And anyways, man, a big argument broke out between me and Blake. And again, Blake, he quit. He just goes, oh, fuck you, then, and quit. And I'm kind of like, fuck, I go, we're here, man. We're on the cusp, man. Let's do this, And he's like, and I go, well, stuff it then, And so Blake leaves the band, and his mom had some choice words with me, and and I'm kind of going, okay. And so I turn to the guys. I go, right, we're going to do this with Chuck. And John and Larry are kind of like, oh yeah, cool, okay, all right, And so we start rehearsing with Chuck, and we're rehearsing every day. And it's sounding, I'm thinking it's sounding really good. And then, my dad's a diesel mechanic, so he's like gone through the van, like he's rebuilt the transmission, changed all the seals. The vans, and it was actually America's Hardcore's old touring van that I bought off Drew Bernstein for like $400 or something. And so my dad gets it, new tires. It's set. He goes, it's gonna get you there, man. He goes, it's everything's good. And so we got the tour van. We're set. We're ready to go, man. George is amped. Upstart's amped. We're he's organizing press events, and it's all happening. And then it's like, no joke, I don't know how long it was before probably 3 weeks or 4 weeks. We roll up to practice, and I get there pretty early, and Larry and John are like, hey man, can we talk? And I go, yeah. And he goes, look, dude, they tell me, look, dude, we don't want to do the tour, man. We don't think Chuck's going to be ready. It's, it's come around so quick. It's, I don't think we should do it. And I'm like, no, come on, seriously. Like we're here. Let's do this. And they were just adamant. No. They said, we'll do the West Coast leg. We'll play up to Seattle, and that's it. And I was like, are you for real? And they were like, yeah. And I tried to cajole them. I tried to convince them, and they were like, no. And so that's what happened. So June 85, we embark on this tour, man. And, it's kind of bittersweet for me because I'm like, this is awesome. But, it's like we're playing 12 shows instead of 65. And, we go up, the shows are great. We have an awesome time. We play in Seattle, and that, like, again, that's probably another highlight, man. Like I told you before, we're playing with the Minutemen, we're playing with the Melvins, who I'd never heard of, and they were just awesome. And the Melvins loved us so much. Like Chuck was, the band came alive, man. This was where the real metal thing started, because Chuck was essentially a metal guitarist, and we just sounded awesome. It was loud. It was, it just, he gave new life to those songs, like I said, Black and Gray was phenomenal. And we had started writing some new songs, a couple that we've actually recorded, cause we recorded back, I recorded with the band when we went back for the Narmegadon Festival in 2012. We played at the Gilman. We headlined the Gilman, and then we played a couple of local shows in Oxnard, and then we played in Armageddon at the Galaxy Theater in, I don't know, Anaheim or somewhere around there, Santa Ana. And during that time, we actually recorded. I don't know what's happened with that. I've got a CD of it. But it was pretty awesome. And we recorded some of these new songs we were playing. Like, I say this is the old new one. But anyways, long story short, so we play Seattle, man. It's awesome. The Melvins love us. They drive. Our last show was in Olympia, Washington. The Melvins drive the 90 minutes the next night to see us, and again, these are, platinum selling, metal band, known all over the world. And they thought we were like, the shit. And then that's it. We pack up the van and we drive home. It was a long, lonely 24-hour drive from Washington State back to Oxnard. Drop everyone off. See ya.
Yeah.
And, I don't think we practiced for a couple of weeks. We got to practice. It was kind of lackluster. A couple of weeks later, Larry says, he started track racing, riding a track, bicycle, and that's what he wanted to do. And he was like, I'm leaving the band. And I'm like, great, thanks. So he leaves. We get Rick Heller who was in Dr. No at the time. And I thought Rick was, going to join the band, but he was kind of like, I'll just fill in for a while. So he played with us for a few months, and we did a tour we toured out to Denver again, played a few shows out there. And then, came back, and, he wasn't really committed. So we've got two. Then I kind of get this guy through a friend of a friend, this young guy from Santa Cruz. I can't even remember his name. He was a young guy. He's probably about 16, and he came down and was sleeping on my parents' couch and, and drumming for us. And I mean, we played a couple of shows, nothing big, but cause I mean, essentially we had missed the boat, man. The momentum, it's already in late 85, getting into late 85, and the momentum's gone. They're like, yeah, your album was out, nearly 2 years ago, and you haven't toured, and, all these other bands are touring, and, you could just feel it dying. And so it's, and look, Chuck loved the guy, John Morris loved the guy, but they, I was it. I was the band, I was the manager, and Larry, when he stepped in, man, cause the guy's a real savvy businessman. He kind of really helped me, he was the one who started doing all the merch and the t-shirts, and that's what he's doing now with Stalag now. And so when he left, it was a real wound to me, because we were A, really close, and B, he was like a real business savvy guy. And so that was a real blow to me as well, to the band. And and look, it just died a slow death. It just fizzled.
Does he come back though, or how does the heavy metal demo come about?
Yeah, sorry for being so long and convoluted. But
no, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens is it just kind of dies. This was probably, I think our last gig would have been kind of October.
Okay.
October it was 85? At a party in October 85. We played a party in Camarillo. We played with, I think Scared Straight, a couple of other, local bands, up and coming bands. And I remember I was singing out of one of the bands, it's again, something I'm not proud of this memory, but it was, I think the bass player for Habeas Corpus at the time, they were a band playing, and I was singing through his bass amp, and something happened, and something fucked up, and the vocals stopped, and I got really pissed off, and I kicked his amp, and and he was like, "That's not cool, dude," and I'm like, "Fuck off," and I was, and look, it's not a proud moment for me, but that was the death of the band. That's kind of what I was feeling, and I just thought, here we were, 8 months ago playing, to 4,000 people at Perkins Palace with Suicidal, and it's, we're the next big thing, and now I'm playing some shitty party in Camarillo, and it's all over,
Yeah,
it was like literally that. And
yeah, you're playing Camarillo at a party and singing through a bass amp.
Yeah, and I think that night, Chuck and John said, and let's leave it. We're done. And they went and joined this hair metal band called Metropolis. and I think at that stage I'd already booked tickets to go overseas because I just needed a break. I just needed to get away. And so I was going to London, and so I took off to Europe for 6 months. I think I kind of left in November, and I was there kind of November, December, January, February. I think I came back in March, 86.
Okay.
Yeah, so I came back in March, 86. Yeah, and I moved in with, because I went with my girlfriend. So a different girlfriend from the one from the In Control one, different girlfriend. So moved in with her, got back. I had started a carpenter's apprenticeship somewhere in 85, so I continued with that. I was working carpentry. I moved to Ojai up in the hills and was living in Ojai and just kind of doing my thing. And then it was pretty early on when I got back because the metal thing didn't last very long. It was probably 86, 87.
Okay.
And so sometime in early 86, I get a call from Larry White. Hey, man. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, dude? And he's like, man, let's get the band back together. It's like a Blues Brothers moment. We're getting the band back together. And he goes, yeah, man, I got this idea. He goes, I got these young cats, man. These guys, Tim Harkins from Ohio. Yeah, no, I mean, these guys were young, like a lot younger than us. So Tim Harkins, who's won, I think he just won an Academy Award for some musical, a Grammy or something for some, I think with Korn or some band. Like he's ended up becoming an awesome sound engineer. I don't know if he owns his own studio in LA or works at but anyways, this guy could play a guitar, man. This guy could play a guitar. And then the other dude we got was this guy, Tony Black, who is this like 6'8", long, curly red hair, dude that could play a bass. Like, I mean, the guy went to like fine arts school. Like he's a classically trained, cello player or something. Like this guy's like, so these are two phenomenal musicians.
Sure.
And he's Tony Black's gone on to play. He played for many years. He lives in North Carolina and was in the band for, some famous country western singer. Like, I want to say Kenny Rogers, but no, it was, but somebody like that.
Sure.
And so, anyways, I'm digressing badly, but so these two guys, so Larry says, I got these two guys. And then he says, call Chuck. So I called Chuck. Yeah, Chuck's going to do lead guitar. And so that's, ta-da, we've got, Stalag 13 Mark II, the metal years or the metal year.
Yeah.
And so we start jamming out at this old abandoned school that was, I think, turned into a car yard or something in West Ventura off the avenue. And we start jamming there, and it's just this full-on metal trip, man. We're like, and we had all been getting into metal, man. I'll tell you, like,
sure.
We bought, Kill 'Em All by Metallica, man. We all went. I think we went to the record store together and bought it, and we would just listen to this over and over at Larry's house after practice, man. And we got into Venom. We got Celtic Frost, man. That was a real inspiration.
Yeah.
Early Celtic Frost, man. We just played that shit to death. So we were getting into metal anyway. So that was probably, you could probably hear that. I mean, if you could hear some of the recordings that we did, because we did do another recording.
Yeah, I have it.
Previous, but you have it, cool. And yeah, so all of this, like, we were kind of getting into the shit anyways. And, definitely I'll put it down to Metallica's Kill 'Em All. And we used to see those guys at gigs, like we'd see Kirk Hammett and that, like we'd go down to, when we would play in San Francisco, they would go to punk shows, man. And they were cool dudes. They were punks in my eyes, And, so we were just jamming it out and we started playing and, it was pretty trippy. Like, some people loved it, some people hated it, but we were playing with, we played with COC then. And I mean, it was actually ironically, and, man, look, I've got to say, man, I got to do a shout out to Reed Mullen, man, the guy that passed away. He was one fucking awesome dude. He was a real class act, that guy, man. Loved that guy. And I was actually, this is a kind of an unknown story. As the metal kind of Stalag was waning, I was asked by Reed and Woody to join COC because they had a break in singers, and I was, and they were like, yeah, man, come and sing for us. We'd love to have you. And and I was going to go to North Carolina, and I just balked because of my girlfriend at the time, which is, kind of lame when I look back on it. And, one of those sliding door moments. But, Reed Mullen, awesome guy, RIP. And, those dudes stayed at my house because we played with them at the Oxnard Roller Rink, and they were great guys, great band. So we're playing with all these awesome bands, but I don't know. It just, something wasn't there. Like, musically, those guys could play awesome. It was, lyrically, I don't know, man. I was on some weird trip, but I mean, Evan Sterling, who played in various bands and was this guy from Ojai, who's now like the marketing manager of Thrasher magazine, or he has been for like the last 20 years or something. Awesome dude. He wrote the lyrics to that song City Wheels that's on that, that metal. Yeah. And, so that was that. We were doing this kind of metal thing, and it was kind of weird. It was, I don't know if it was super well received, I don't know. What do you hear on the grapevine about it?
Well, it was a mystery for a long time. It was hard for people of my generation to track it down. I only got it probably a year ago. So, and I'm 40 now. So,
okay.
Yeah. So it was just always kind of like a mystery out there. Like, did Stalag really do a heavy metal demo? And did they re-record all the songs like in heavy metal style? But you only re-recorded one song. Yeah. You just re-recorded No Excuses, I think.
Yeah, I think No Excuse. Yeah.
And then the other ones are new songs, so it's kind of hard to compare. But it's ambitious. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a 9-minute song on there.
Yeah, I think that's City Wheels kind of keeps going. Like, it's a long song in itself, and then it keeps going. And then I named the song Into the Void, and and they were like, man, but that's a Sabbath song. Like, fuck Sabbath, man. This is my own Into the Void.
Yeah, that's cool. So that lasts about a year then.
That lasted, probably, I would say, about a year. Probably, early to mid 86 to probably, mid 87. Yeah, it was all over. Like, I don't know. I just don't think we were getting a vibe. Like, I don't know. We were meant to play some shows. We played the show at Oxnard Community Center, and where we had a smoke machine and this, big metal intro that went for, about 9 minutes before I even came on stage. And I don't know, man, it was funny. And when we were playing that set, I did this big jump, and I came down, and I just really fucking twisted my knee, and it swelled up like a grapefruit. We were meant to do, I think that was a Friday night, and we were meant to do like a string of shows in LA and Orange County, like Saturday, Sunday. And I couldn't do it, man. I just said, dude, I can't, I can barely walk, man.
Yeah.
And, I don't even remember what happened. And then we played with, I remember, here now me dissing bands. We played in Santa Barbara with, Agent Orange, and they were the biggest dicks, man. Like they were just, hey, man, we're Agent Orange, fuck off here, you guys. And, I was like, And then I think one of our last shows we played again in Santa Barbara with Doggy Style. And Brian Baker from Minor Threat was, there on guitar. And we did these, like, a lot of really super good shows. And just, again, it was one of those that just kind of fizzled.
Yeah. And then you move out of the country. You move out of the country in 89.
Yeah. So what happened? So that's kind of mid 87, I think. Oh yeah, probably even early 87, because what happened was, my girlfriend at the time, so, her parents, me and my girlfriend were going to go back to Europe, and then, my girlfriend's parents say, oh, like, we'll pay for your guys' trip if you take, your little, my girlfriend's little sister with you, because she was, a bit of a pain, and they didn't want her going on the family holiday. So we had to babysit my girlfriend, who was, I think at that stage about, I don't know, I think she was about 15 or something. So, so we go off to Europe, and, we're looking after this girl, and that was a wild trip, man. We had a great time, man. We went off, we did some crazy shit, and then we hooked up with these friends we knew from Ojai, and like their son was about, I don't know, 14 or 15 or something as well. And like, I take them all we're going to a U-Roy concert. We're going to see U-Roy in in Rome, in this place called Roma AUR. So it's probably about 15, 20 Ks outside Rome, and it's in this big stadium thing. And so we go to this reggae concert, and of course they're passing the J's, and everyone's having a big party, and
sure.
and then when it's over, man, we've missed the last train home, so we have to kind of hitchhike to get home. And this guy picks us up in this Fiat 500, and this kind of weird hippie dude, man, and he just takes us all over Rome on this tour of Rome, and he buys us Heinekens and chocolate eclairs, and we just have this great time, kind of. Anyway, sorry, that's not Stalag 13 related.
No,
but I was having fun in Europe. So I bailed to Europe. So I'm in Europe at that stage. And then, I break up with that girlfriend there. And so I'm in Europe, so 87 and all of 88. So tail end of 87, all of 88, and into, till the end of 88. I think I come home, towards the end of 88. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then when I'm overseas, as well, because we were pen pals with lots of bands, lots of different folks, and even a guy here, this guy who played in this band Civil Dissident in Melbourne, Australia, this guy named David Ross, who I'm friends with now. Like I see him, haven't caught up with him for a while, but he played in this band Civil Dissident. We used to be pen pals, and when I came here, I kind of reconnected with him. But anyways, long story short, I was really good pen friends with the guys in Negazione, Negazione, the band from Torino, Italy.
Sure.
And so I kind of, with their bass player, Marco Mathieu, I had arranged that I was going to roadie for them on this. They were doing this big European tour, 40, 50 shows or something. And I was going to roadie for them because I was living in the UK at this stage. So I backpacked for about 6 months. Then I went and worked in the UK at a pizzeria for about 9 months, and then went backpacking again. And so on this, what was meant to be the second lot of backpacking, I was meant to be, touring with, Negazione. And so I was going to meet up with them at Club Perdisa in Amsterdam, and I was staying at this youth hostel. And there was this woman there who, I remember I would see her around the hostel, and I said, "Oh, yeah, she looks all right, blonde haired, blue eyed, I thought she was German, like I didn't, kind of know who she was. And then so Ismail was with me, Ismail Hernandez, from Dr. Nine, and he's with me. So we're going to, go and be the roadies for this band. And long story short, we go to eat at this restaurant somewhere in Amsterdam before the show. This girl turns up at this restaurant, this blonde haired, blue eyed thing from the youth hostel. And so I start talking to her, and, it turns out she's Australian. And, so we hit it off, man, and we're just talking, and, I'm no longer straight edge at this stage. So, we're talking, I'm drinking, we're drinking, talking. We end up talking till about 3, 4 in the morning, and, go back to the hostel together. And, and so, I missed the band. Again, sure. Another sliding door moment. Don't know what would have happened had I toured with Negazione. I might have been in an Italian punk band or a French punk band or a German punk band. Who knows? But so kind of like COC, I missed the boat for a woman. And anyways, that's how I ended up in Australia. So I no longer with her. That lasted 4 years. But I kind of finished, like, I went backpacking all around Europe with her, and then I went back home in the very end of 88. Kind of was at my parents' house, they had was back on carpentry, saving up some money, and then in December 21st, 1988, my parents take me to LAX, and I fly out to Melbourne, Australia, and lived here since. So I was with this girl for about 4 years, got my residency based off, kind of fiance visa or whatever. So I was, became a permanent resident and stayed on. Then after we split up, I was going to go home, and my dad was like, no, man, stay there, man. Sounds like a better country, better lifestyle. And look, I was able, I owe a debt of gratitude to Australia because, they're, our higher education system is pretty accessible and friendly. It's pretty cheap. And, So I was able to get an arts degree with honors for, I think I paid a whopping 13,000 Australian dollars for that. I've subsequently gone on to, finish my PhD, and I'm an academic, and, so that's that's my story.
Yeah. There was just a couple other, things I wanted to touch on, but I'm glad you actually you wrapped that up really, really nicely. 'Cause you moved to Australia and it was a good choice. You ended up getting your PhD and you're academic. So the story has a happy ending. So, it's a happy punk rock ending,
Yeah. And I always tell people, and this is a total truism. I mean, academia is, it's made for punk rockers, man. It's, it's made for those that don't fit in normative places. And look, it's an industry or a culture or an institution that has changed a lot. We're as like most institutions, we're not immune to the kind of neoliberal agenda that's, kind of taken hold in the world, but it is still, there's a modicum of individuality. There's a modicum of autonomy. There's a modicum of DIY. It is a very punk rock profession, I would have to say, because you're questioning authority and you're doing it with journal articles rather than lyrics. That's how I see it. I'm still writing. I'm still, fighting the system, fighting the good fight, but, just in a different way. So to me, it's a career that really suits, it's an extension of the kind of punk hardcore mindset.
Yeah, it's cool. So one thing I wanted to ask about was, in 93, you get bootlegged by Lost and Found. Was that completely, do you know anything about that? Like how that came about?
Just when somebody, said, I was speaking to somebody and they go, "Hey man, have you seen that?" Or no, it was actually a dude. Cause I think I started 93. I think I was in second year uni. Yeah. I think I was in the second year, first year of university. And there was, this kind of punk kid in my class and we became friends and he's going, "Hey man, you got this thing out on Lost and Found." And I go, "Oh, do we?"
Yeah. But so they were huge. They were huge. So, I mean, that really had to add to kind of Stalag's reach.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Because they were out of Germany, weren't they, Lost and Found?
Yeah, something like that. And that was, that record was out of press, from, 84, 85, all the way until Dr. Strange did it again in 2002.
Yeah.
So we would have to track down that Lost and Found record, and it kind of made it accessible to the people of my generation that got into punk in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. Look, I really don't have any truck with that. It's like, okay, cool. Because as you say, it definitely would have contributed to our kind of longevity, our reach, so it's, but no, I knew nothing about it,
Yeah, and then also
I know nothing about a lot of things.
Well, so in 94, Libkey starts the band again. Joey Libkey with Blake, and they do the Conviction record.
Blake, yeah.
Did you have any opinion on that at the time?
Yeah, well, I do. I did, and I do. Blake had contacted me and, was like, "Oh, dude, what are you doing?" And I go, "Well, my life's here, man. I live here." At that stage I was married, first marriage that didn't last. And, I had kids and I'm like, I go, "I've got a life here, man." Like, he's like, "Dude, come back and play, man." And I'm like, "Well, I can't." And he was like, "Oh, okay, because I really want to get this band going." And then that was it. Like, I spoke to him a few times about it, and then I don't hear anything. And then I think it was my sister. One of my sisters rang me and said, "Do you know there's this band Stalag gunning around?" And I go, "No." And then I think somebody sent me the album they did, the Conviction.
Mm-hmm.
And look, frankly, I thought it was underhanded because I wasn't told about it or asked or, and that's where I go, this is my band, I make no bones about it. I mean, whoever, if they want to, if the band now want to dispute it, that's fine, but this is my band. And, they're playing now with my good graces. I told John Creer, "Yeah, man, do it, knock yourself out, man." And, and look, and, I do, I'll be quite honest. Sometimes I get a little bit, like I see him touring in Japan or I see him touring Europe and, I go, "Look, good on you. But, that's shit we should have did when we were 20, not 50, you know? And,
sure.
and I'll be honest, I hold a little bit of bitterness about, you know, all that shit that happened in 85, that we were there, man. You know, this was before Nirvana. We were on the cusp of something big, and, you know, and in my mind, they let it go, you know. Blake quits, John and Larry walk away, and, you know, it was a could have been, you know, rather than what should have been. So, you know, in all honesty, I still, you know, like, you know, I said, I have no truck with them playing now. That's cool. You know, it gives, you know, Blake, you know, imminent pride, and, you know, I'm happy for them. You know, they, you know, and that's cool. John Creer is like Nardcore through and through. So, you know, he's carrying on the tradition. That's awesome. But, you know, there is, you know, sometimes it is a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow, because I'm like, you know, well, you know, like I said, we should have done this when we were kids, not, you know, as old men.
Yeah, no, it's just hard to have the hindsight when you're in your early 20s, though.
Yeah.
So and most bands, unfortunately, most bands end up like that, right? What could have been? Yeah,
totally. I get it, you know. And I mean, yeah, with the conviction thing, yeah, I was a little bit put out by that, because I wasn't asked. I wasn't consulted. It just kind of appeared. And frankly, look, you know, I mean, that guy Rob, you know, this is, you know, me getting, you know, like, I don't think he didn't suit the songs personally. I don't think they were lyrically very strong, or sorry, vocally very strong. The you know, the instrumentally, you know, it's a pretty good recording. It's, you know. That I think one of the guys, Justin, one of the other guitarists on it, he's, you know, pretty good guitarist. But yeah, that one's another bitter pill. Blake and I just don't talk about that.
yeah. Well, but you're friends still?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know.
Well, you came and did those shows.
Yeah, I came and done those shows. You know, we're friends on Facebook. You know, if I'm in Southern California, I touch base with those guys. You know, John Morris, you know, I'm pretty tight with, mainly John and Blake. Larry, you know, like, you know, he's a good guy, but I don't know. It's funny. Like, I don't know, you know, he's kind of, you know. But yeah, I do touch base with them. And yeah, we have done those shows. Like we did when Dr. Strange re-released this In Control. We did that tours with Dr. No, or No, as they were called then, or Now, or whatever, I don't know, up the West Coast.
Yeah.
Kind of replicated 85, I think. And that was good fun. But it was really when we went back in 2012, and that was really good in 2012.
Yeah, that was great. That's when I saw you. So my band missed you when you came back in 2002, because we were on tour. Okay. All right. And my band was called In Control. So,
you're in Control. Okay.
Yeah,
you guys were from Oxnard, though, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I met your singer at I think at one of those shows at Rock City in Cameron.
Yeah, for sure. And and Ryan, and he sang in Stalag for a tiny bit of time before John came in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
but
that's right. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Oh,
yeah, you can piece it all together. But yeah, we were so bummed because we're like,
well, thanks for naming your band after our album and using the font and everything. That's, you know, that's homage, man. You know, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought it was the right way to do it at the time, because like, you know, I don't know, Nardcore at the time was like mostly just people writing, you know, the symbol on their binder or whatever, you know, and we're like, no, this is, we have to throw this back and pay homage to like the, you know, the people that put it here, you know, and our goal,
that's cool.
our goal,
dig it.
Yeah, and our goal of that band was to put it back on the map, and most people would say that we did a pretty good job at that.
I would say you did. I mean, I think you know, did. I mean, no joke. I've been in classes because, you know, I teach youth studies, sociology. I teach criminology. And I remember I was teaching a first year sociology class, and, you know, I always have, you know, because we cover subcultures, and I go, who's in a subculture? What is a subculture? Who identifies as, you know? And I mean, funnily enough, most people don't think they don't think about subcultures anymore. But I'm digressing badly. But I had a kid, one of my students who's like, I said, oh yeah, like when we get onto subcultures, I go, yeah, I used to play in a band, and this was a really formative part of my life, and I would say it's kind of marked me, and sometimes I tell them outright, sometimes I give them hints. And they go away and Google it. And this kid went away and Googled it. And he goes, fuck, no way, dude, you're a Nardcore. I love Nardcore, man. I've got all the albums. And he's like asking me all these questions. And I've had that experience like multiple times,
Sure.
Like I remember I was at the gym at Melbourne Uni working out. And I've seen this guy come in a couple of times. And he's covered in tats. And, and I see he's got the X's and, straight edge. And so I go, I got to go and talk to this guy. It's like, oh, hey, man, what's up? And he goes, oh, cool. Yeah. Whatever his name, Marcus, I'm from Germany. And I go, oh, cool. Yeah. I noticed you got the straight edge. Said, yeah, really into hardcore in the 90s. And, still am, I'm here I think he was there doing a PhD or something. And long story short, I said, oh, yeah, I used to play in a band. Yeah, what band? So I said, oh, my God, the guy freaks out, man. He grabs my hand. He's shaking my hand. He's like shaking my hand for about 20 minutes the whole time we're talking. Yeah. And he's like, you don't understand. This is like, like meeting Mick Jagger for most people, man. You are like my hero. Yeah. I was just going, dude, I can't believe I'm in my, I think at that stage I was like, 48, 49. And, I just thought, man, this is cool.
I think we can credit the Lost and Found bootleg for that guy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it's kind of, so I'm still cool with those guys, like I said, we hook up and it is what it is. And, I should probably let go of my bitterness, but yeah,
it's just hard thinking about what was, but I think they're doing a good job of carrying it on and keeping it alive. And the guys in the band, they do a great job. And like you said, John, no one can say a bad thing about that guy. He's like,
oh, look, dude. I mean, like, I met him at, because I loved their, what was the band he played in? That
Missing 23rd.
He's played in. Sorry,
the Missing 23rd.
Yeah, Missing 23rd, and then he was in another band.
Stop Breathing.
Stop Breathing. Yeah, because he gave me a Stop Breathing CD, and I love that CD, man. I play it all the time. Mm-hmm. And I remember speaking to him at it was one of the Rock City shows I think we did in 2012, and and he was just such a cool dude, and he was like really respectful and like, oh, you guys are awesome, you're such an awesome band, and when Blake told me he was joining, I was like, man, I told Blake, man, I said I think by messenger, I said, you've got my total, that's cool, you've got my support, like, knock yourselves out, but I appreciated, I will say I really appreciated they did ask me, like, do you mind if we keep playing, do you mind if we get, John singing? And I was like, totally cool with that.
Yeah, that rules.
And I am, that's, I'm glad they're carrying it on. I'm glad they're, like, hey man, let the next generation, hear it. I would love to, no joke. I would love to be involved. I would love to play again. Ironically, man, I've just become a grandfather actually in September. My daughter's had a little boy, and her partner's a drummer in like kind of hardcore and punk bands, here in Australia, and we kind of hit it off like a house on fire, just, talking about music, and and I remember talking to him once, and I was, he's going, oh yeah, that's so cool, and I remember talking about playing, and it's like there, and I said to him, I go, there's nothing like, man, that those seconds and milliseconds before you play, when you go up on the stage and you could, the tension in the air, everyone knows what's going to happen. They know it's coming, particularly if they know your songs, and, and I said, I had this ritual. I would grab the mic and I would wrap the cord around, I hold the mic in my right hand and I'd wrap the cord viscerally around my hand about 3 or 4 times, stretch the cord out. I'd look at Blake, look at John, look at Larry, and boom, we would go, and that was, and that's like, that is like a religious experience to me.
I agree.
And then, you know, and I mean, you know the feeling, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's never gone away. It's never gone away. I get nervous before I play every time.
Still to this day, man. You know, I'm 55 years old, and to this day, man, I love to play. You know, I'd love to. Yeah, if things had transpired differently, and I was, in LA, I would still play with those guys. But unfortunately, it's kind of hard to have that long distance. I mean, again, if we were big enough to where it's like, oh, if you fly over, we'll pay you $10,000.
Sure.
Yeah, you would probably do it. But when you're flying over for, you're paying for your airfare and that's it, and the band gets about $500, it's not really worth it. So yeah. I don't begrudge them that. It's cool that they're still playing.
Well, maybe in 2024 we do a 40th anniversary of In Control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd be into that. I remember when, it was, I don't know, the dude who runs Megadon, man, I didn't realize, he was like a kid, man. I mean, the guy was like 20 years old or something, or 22 or something, whoever the promoter was of that. And I remember he called me. I don't know how he got my number. and says, oh, dude, what would it take to get you to, I run this show, this festival called Megadon, and what would he get you to play? And I go, well, an air ticket would be helpful for starters. And he's like, okay, we'll make it happen. And and that was pretty awesome. Had a good time doing this shit.
Yeah, super cool. Well, Ron, I think we touched on almost everything.
Yeah, cool.
You did a great job.
Yeah, I could keep talking for another 2 hours, but your listeners probably don't want to hear me.
Hey, I'm not above a part. I'm not above a part two. So.
Oh yeah. I'm happy to do a part two.
Yeah, I'm sure that we'll come across other topics that I'd love to have you chime in on, and help paint the picture. Yeah, cool. I mean, it's one thing. I know, the guys in Stalag, they were going to do, I don't know, some guy wanted to write a book on them or something, and they kind of met with them, and I mean, it was kind of ironic or funny, but they didn't really know the history of the band, and they're going, oh, you have to talk to Ron, and yeah, I kind of thought that was funny. But yeah. Well, now they can just tune into 185 miles south, and
well, they've got the story though. I mean, one of these days I want to write a book. That's yeah. Because I mean, ironically, my one of my first PhD topics I was going to write a history of Southern California punk. And, I met with the supervisor who I knew quite well. And she was like, dude, you lived this. Why do you want to write a PhD where you're governed by all these academic conventions? Why don't you just tell your story and write a book? And I go, yeah, you're probably right. I should do that. So, stay tuned. I might write a book. But before then, I'm happy to talk to you again. But thanks, Heath, for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you for being so generous with your time.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Man.
And so, Ron, I gotta ask, I end them all this way. Do you feel like you've been well represented?
What, generally?
Yeah, no, on the pod. Do you feel like you've been well represented?
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good.
Yeah, no, good.
That's
I hope I haven't done anything too bad.
No, you've been great.
Hope I haven't dissed anybody too badly, but apologies if I've upset anyone. But yeah, no problem, man. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Hey, if there's ever beef, we can hash it out here on the air.
Yeah, cool.
I'll be the peacekeeper.
Yeah, we'll do a talk back and you can moderate.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much, Ron. I will circle soon and let you know when this is going to air.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Take care.
Thanks so much. Goodbye.
Have a good one. All right, bye.